Hey y'all, Austin here with Outer World Media. Welcome back to another book review, guys. This time we were talking about Stephen King yet again, guys. This time we were talking about his first short story collection. We are talking about Night Shift. This is one, I'm not going to lie to you guys. This was the most expensive book that I got in the lot that I picked up from my used bookstore. I was really excited and a little apprehensive to get this, to be honest with you guys. Um, Apprehensive, not because of the price or anything like that. I've never been a fan of short story collections. I've just never really been a fan of short stories, if you will. But this is, I feel like, King's most well known short stories collection. So I had to pick it up and give it a try at least. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, I'm kind of happy that I did. I'm very happy that I did. I could see why this is King's most well known or beloved short story collection. For somebody who, like me, again, not a short story fan, King definitely kind of does a really good job of fleshing his characters out, even in such a short span of telling the story. Um, and it kind of gets you sucked in some of these stories. Some of them were okay, but I really, really enjoyed. Let's see, there were seven stories in this that I really enjoyed. I'm kind of going to go, over them a little bit without going too much into detail, if you will. So let's get into it. Starting off in order of how they come in the book. Starting off with Jerusalem's Lot. This is one that is kind of like a precursor to Salem's Lot. I really enjoyed the premise behind this one. The entity behind this I didn't really enjoy. I feel like King could have done a little better. When I read what it was, I kind of was like, "What? That? No, that's not what I was hoping for. I was hoping for something different." So I will give King this. He kind of did swerve me a little bit, especially in some of these. He gives you kind of a swerve, kind of throws a curveball at you, if you will. But again, I still enjoyed it. It's kind of a ghost story, if you will, and especially after you read Jerusalem's Lot, or Salem's Lot, if you will, it kind of gives you the idea. Okay, something's never really been right with this town, and now we're going to kind of get a little bit of a backstory to it. Next in the order was Graveyard Shift. This was one I was very interested to read because I've seen the movie. You know, and I remember the first time I watched it. At the end, I was like, "That movie makes that what did I just watch?" And I told my wife, actually, I don't think I'll ever rewatch that. That was one I no, I will never rewatch it. And yet I found myself probably rewatching it 3 or 4 times since I've seen it a few years ago. And I don't know why I just keep getting sucked back in, wanting to rewatch it. It's one of those it's so bad it's awful kind of depictions. The ending of this definitely surprised me. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. So I will give that. I think Graveyard Shift, the short story, was better than the actual movie, which, surprise, surprise, is normally the case with most Stephen King adaptations. The book's normally always better than the movie, if you will. Next was The Boogeyman. Now, this was one, out of all of these, this was probably the one that, if I had to say, would probably that scared me the most, put the most fear into me. And it's one you have to read. But as someone, and I will just say this, as someone who's about to have their first kid, the idea behind and the premise of this scared me. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I think anybody who has had a kid or has a kid, this one will definitely kind of hit you, and hit you in the heart, if you will, and strike a chord of fear. I guess is the best way to say it. So I would recommend read this if you're gonna pick one out of this and you're wanting one that's gonna probably scare you the most. I think Graveyard Shift is probably one that's gonna scare you the most. Or sorry, The Boogeyman. I don't know why I said Graveyard Shift. I'll just edit that part out. Next, guys, was one that it was definitely weird. I'm not sure. I think it's one I'm gonna have to go back and reread, and that is Lawnmower Man. It was the idea of what was going on with it is, yeah, I don't know. I feel like King had to have been on something when he wrote it because it was weird, yet I enjoyed it. I mean, I really don't know what to say without spoiling it. Yeah, it's just one of those you got to read to believe the story, I guess. So if you're looking for something that's really out there, Lawnmower Man is going to be that short story in this collection. Next, Children of the Corn. Me and my brothers loved watching the Children of the Corn movie. The original one, that came out was in the 80s or 90s, whenever it was. I think it was the 80s. We really enjoyed watching it as kids, and we probably shouldn't have watched it as kids, but you know what, we did. I really enjoyed the short story. I really did. I could feel the tension between the husband and the wife, and the ending again surprised me. I didn't know how it was gonna be. I could see why Hollywood changed the ending of the story in the movie. I kind of wish they had. I kind of wish they had kept it this way because I really enjoyed it quite a bit, quite a bit. Um, Next was The Man Who Loved Flowers. This was one that, yeah, I think King definitely back in the day could have written, thriller or crime stories like what he's doing now for the True Hard Crime Case or whatever those books are. I think that right there shows that King's ability to write true crime stories. There should be no doubt that he can definitely write one. That was one very realistic, very disturbing. It was, yeah, it was. If you've never seen the movie, oh, what is it? And I do apologize, guys. I'm drawing a blank. I could see somebody taking that short story and making the premise for an actual movie. I wouldn't be surprised if they already did. That was one, yeah. Very realistic, very, very disturbing. Really enjoyed it, which I guess probably makes me should think about myself and why I enjoyed it if it was disturbing. But anyways, guys, and then the last one, that my favorite one out of this entire one had to be One for the Road. This was one that was without spoiling anything, it is a kind of a follow up to another one of King's books, and I really enjoyed it. I really, really did when I was reading it, and then I seen where it took place, what was happening. I was like, okay, I'm in for this one, and I just flew through it. I could not put that down. I couldn't put this entire book down, but I had to finish. My wife was waiting on me to finish that to go somewhere, and I told her, I said, I'm not getting up. I have to finish this short story. It was one I really enjoyed. It was my favorite out of this entire collection. It was really, yeah, I guess without spoiling anything, slight spoiler here, just so you know, I'm gonna give you a few seconds to skip ahead. Excuse me. It was a follow up to Salem's Lot, guys. So if that's something, if you enjoyed that book, pick this up. But again, guys, Night Shift, is it something that you should read? I say yes. I say if you're somebody who's not a fan of short stories, but you're a fan of King, or you're just kind of wanting some short stories to see if maybe, kind of dip your toes into it to get into a short story collection, I would say this is a really good place to start. Now, if this is as good as it gets for King, which I've kind of heard that, I'm a little bummed that I didn't start with some of his other ones and work my way up. But this was a really, really good short story collection. I mean, there were some that was like, okay, it wasn't bad, but it still was better than most people. Even though I don't want to say the worst ones. Even the ones I didn't enjoy as much in this were still better than some other people's short stories. Again, this was a really good collection. I really enjoyed it. It has me excited to delve into some other King short story collections, which again, as someone who's not a fan of those, that should say a lot, guys. But again, Night Shift, should you pick this up, I recommend it, yes. Again, really good, really, really good. Has some follow up to some King stories and whatnot. So, again, and there is actually one in here, I'm not going to say which one it is. There is a follow up to The Stand in this, actually. So, it's a few pages, but I would recommend if you're a fan of The Stand, pick it up. Again, you'll enjoy it. But again, guys, as always, thank you for stopping by. Check out Night Shift by Stephen King. And as always, y'all have a good one.